Tekken 2 was released in March of 1996 in Japan and in August of 1996 in North America, after having critical acclaim for its first installment. This sequel had slightly upgraded graphics with an interesting twist on the story, showcasing how gray and innocuous the morality of the Tekken universe actually was. Now, sit back, relax, as we continue into the second chapter of the Mishima family saga. 2 years after the events of Tekken 1, the Mishima Zaibatsu, under the leadership of Kazuya Mishima, became more corrupt and powerful than ever before. While his father Heihachi Mishima had been rather ruthless in his endeavors, Kazuya began to act completely without a conscience. He hired various assassins to eliminate any of his critics and rivals and attempted to extort money from several businesses and organizations. The reasons for these evil deeds was because he had allowed the devil gene within him to consume him as a result of his hatred toward his father. During this time, Kazuya was sentenced to be arrested by animal rights activist and operative Jun Kazama for his inhumane experiments. Heihachi, on the other hand, whom Kazuya had defeated and thrown off of a cliff 2 years prior, had instantly lost his dignity and fortune with his defeat in the prior tournament. Grief-stricken over his past transgressions and for neglecting his studies, Heihachi decided to live a life of seclusion deep within the mountains with his dear friend and pet Kuma, where he refined his fighting style, Mishima Ryu Karate. In an attempt to rid himself of Heihachi and his enemies once and for all, Kazuya purposely announced the King of Iron Fist Tournament 2, with a large cash prize of $1 trillion, knowing that his father would inevitably appear in an attempt to exact his revenge. Sure enough, Heihachi would eventually descend from the mountain after catching wind of the King of Iron Fist Tournament 2, with the intentions to defeat Kazuya and take back the Mishima Zaibatsu. Once again, many eccentric figures would join the King of Iron Fist Tournament 2. After a child died in his care, King became depressed, gave up his jaguar mask, returned to the street, and became an alcoholic. He would have died had he not been convinced by his old friend and rival Armor King, whilst drunk in an alleyway, to once more don his iconic jaguar mask and enter the King of Iron Fist Tournament 2. King focused all of his attention on his training and recovered from his alcoholism. Entering into the tournament, he faced Armor King in a rematch and was utterly defeated. Afterwards, King participated in both pro wrestling and martial arts tournaments to win money for his orphanage. He also taught his fighting skills to the children under his care as a means of teaching them and providing them the knowledge needed in self-defense. Michelle Chang entered the second King of Iron Fist tournament in order to rescue her mother, who had been kidnapped by Ganryu, who was working for Kazuya, who desired Chang's pendant. Ganryu had been handsomely paid to be a bodyguard for Kazuya during the tournament, and wanted to build his own sumo ring in order to impress Michelle. When they met and battled, she easily defeated him and rescued her mother and returned home. However, she was unaware of Ganryu's hidden love for her. Prior to the tournament, Yoshimitsu led a raid on Dr. Boskonovich's lab in order to steal his Eternal Energy device. Although Yoshimitsu lost his arm during the operation, Boskonovich helped him escape and fitted him with a mechanical prosthetic replacement. Grateful for his help, he told Boskonovich that he could call on him whenever he needed help. Yoshimitsu then later learned that Boskonovich had been kidnapped by the Gien Hakubutoshitsu, and therefore he entered the second Tekken tournament in order to rescue him. Also, Kunimitsu, Yoshimitsu's former Manji clan second-in-command, returned to the tournament in order to steal his blade after she had discovered that it was quite valuable. Yoshimitsu defeated her in the tournament and then promptly dropped out of the tournament in order to rescue the doctor after having learned of his location. As for Kunimitsu, having had her second major defeat, she decided to retire from thievery and refused to participate in any more King of the Iron Fist tournaments. Meanwhile, she gave birth to her daughter, who would one day also take on the title of Kunimitsu. 2 years after the King of Iron Fist tournament, Nina Williams was contracted by the Irish Republican Army to assassinate the then current head of the Mishima Zaibatsu, Kazuya Mishima. Having entered the King of Iron Fist Tournament 2, Nina was distracted by a fight with Anna Williams, her sister, and also one of the 3 bodyguards for Kazuya Mishima, but both of them were captured by Kazuya after having failed to assassinate him, and were then used as test subjects in the quote-unquote cold sleep cryogenic project by Dr. Bogdanovich. Although Nina was put into the project by force, Anna chose to also participate due to fearing she would age faster than Nina, and also possibly feeling as though she would miss her sister. Martial Law was enjoying teaching at his dojo when one day his students were attacked and his dojo was destroyed by Baito-san, a Taekwondo practitioner who had accidentally killed his own father during a sparring session, which led him on a rage-filled path of destruction, which inevitably led to the demolishing of Law's own dojo. This provoked Law into entering the second tournament in order to seek revenge. Law would eventually face his villainous assailant and defeat him, causing Law to then drop out of the tournament after having achieved his goal. Wang Jinrei decided to enter the second King of Iron Fist tournament in order to fulfill the deceased Jinpachi's wishes of eliminating Heihachi and Jinpachi's grandson Kazuya, both of whom had followed the path of evil. Wang opted to face all challengers, giving way to those adept enough to defeat Kazuya. However, Wang was eventually defeated by the mysterious Jun Kazama. Jack 2 was a direct upgrade of the original Jack model, also created by the Mishima Zaibatsu. Once Jack 2 witnessed a young girl named Jane lose her mother during a battle, he took it upon himself to look after her until he was later destroyed, having protected Jane from an attack by Dr. Abel, a mad scientist working for the Mishima Zaibatsu and his death ray. Paul Phoenix entered and battled his way to the finals of the King of Iron Fist Tournament 2 in order to earn the right to have a rematch with Kazuya Mishima, only to end up having to forfeit and be replaced after having gotten stuck in traffic as a result of a multi-car collision on the expressway, and therefore, he was unable to make the match on time. Alex and Roger are genetically modified animals created by Dr. Bogdanovich under Kazuya's orders. Roger was crafted from kangaroo DNA and Alex from dinosaur fossil samples. However, Kazuya considered them rather worthless and wanted to kill them, but they ended up escaping and met Armor King, who taught them wrestling fundamentals. Alex and Roger decided that after their training to compete in the second Iron Fist tournament, where Jun Kazama, a WWWC Wildlife Protection Program officer, had been dispatched to arrest Kazuya for his experiments on wildlife. She found Roger and Alex at the tournament and helped relocate them to a safe location in Australia. Lei Wulong was a prospective police officer who had put countless criminals behind bars, which earned him the nickname of quote-unquote super police. While investigating the nefarious Mishima Zaibatsu Corporation's illegal hunting and trading practices, he ended up fighting his former partner and officer Bruce Irvin. Bruce was a muscular and mohawked American Muay Thai practitioner. He lost his parents and older brother in his youth and grew up in a violent environment. He longed to make a difference and became a police officer. He was sent to Japan to investigate the Mishima Zaibatsu and Kazuya Mishima, who knew of Bruce's mission and therefore arranged for his flight to crash. Bruce survived the crash, but became an amnesiac, and Kazuya used this to his advantage and therefore hired him as his own bodyguard. Lei Wulong defeated Bruce, who then attempted to escape on another plane, but it somehow exploded later on. Bruce would end up surviving in secret by faking his own death. Jun Kazama, an officer of the Wildlife Protection Organization WWWC, and called quote-unquote the Chosen One by her relatives, was a highly psychic being who was able to sense that Kazuya's power stemmed from Devil. At the WWWC's orders, she was set out to arrest Kazuya due to him smuggling environmentally protected animals. Therefore, Jun decided to enter the King of Iron Fist Tournament 2. When the second tournament was coming to an end, Jun came to the realization that Kazuya's supernatural strength originated from Devil. And even through this fact, she was still attracted to him due to a mystic force beyond her control. Besides her duty to arrest Kazuya, she wanted to free him of his evil power, and in order to do so, she dropped out of the tournament. At some point during that time, Jun became pregnant with Kazuya's child. Determined to reign supreme from his throne once again, Heihachi prepared to meet the battle head-on. During the tournament, Heihachi lost to Paul Phoenix in the semifinals. However, the tournament officials reinstated Heihachi, replacing Paul, who was forced to forfeit after getting stuck in traffic, and therefore was unable to make the match on time. With a powerful showdown, Heihachi eventually was able to overcome his son and defeated Kazuya in the final match. This was due to Kazuya being unable to draw upon his full power from Devil. This was because of Jun Kazama, and her love having caused his morals to be in conflict with each other. Due to this, Devil was fighting Angel, the representation and manifestation of the remaining good inside of Kazuya. After having won the tournament, Heihachi took his son's limp and unconscious body to the top of a volcano and threw him into it before escaping on a helicopter just as the volcano erupted behind him, having taken his revenge and regained the control of the Mishima Zaibatsu and finally killing his son, Kazuya. As Kazuya Mishima died, parts of Devil left him and unsuccessfully attempted to possess Jun's unborn child. She then decided to flee to the forest of Yakushima, where she would eventually raise her child away from the evils and dangers of the world and the Mishima Zaibatsu.